welcome to another episode of the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Eric Rodriguez, here every Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Pacific Time, 11 p.m. Eastern Time, here to talk about everything in terms of pro wrestling. We have a great show for you today lined up. Today, we're going to talk about some WWE NXT. The show was actually very, very good. It was pretty awesome. Then we're going to talk about AEW Dynamite as well. It's Wednesday, of course, like we always do. In our third segment, we're going to talk about what's next for the New Day. Is the New Day, heading for a breakup, maybe some potential storylines, some bookings that could be facing Xavier Woods or Kofi Kingston as soon as they close the final chapter on this book, this amazing book, this amazing stable that was the New Day. In our fourth segment, we're going to talk about WWE's approach to contract negotiations has changed under the Triple H Paul Levesque era. So, more positive than negative, to be honest. So I don't think there's any negative. I like the way they're trying to take care of their superstars. We'll get into it in our fifth and final segment. Something we do every Wednesday night. I give you guys my Wednesdays weekly wrestling news. Give you guys some of the hottest breaking news in the world wrestling entertainment industry. And so let's go ahead and dig on into it. First and foremost, hope you guys are having a great Wednesday. Always gotta fit that in there. I know, nowadays life is, oh my God, so expensive. It's crazy. It's literally crazy. If you have a burning question or a hot take in terms of professional wrestling, and if or if you're just dying to get something off of your chest, here at the GSMC Sports Network, we are absolutely all ears 110% of the time. The show is all about keeping the conversation lively, making sure your voice is part of the mix. So don't be shy and drop your thoughts inside that chat. And if you really want to make sure your comment or question gets noticed, why not use that super chat? Just hit that $sign below the chat box right there, and it's guaranteed that your message, your question, comment, concern, opinion, it's gonna show up. So we can talk about it. It's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Your super chats obviously helps us keep the lights on and supporting the GSMC Sports Network. It's our ability for you guys to receive more sports knowledge. Well, in this case, wrestling content on shows on the GSMC Sports Network. We are absolutely super grateful for each and every one of you guys who tune in daily. Your support makes all the difference. So let's keep the conversation going, keep this party going. Send in those super chats, those super stickers, because you guys are super awesome. And together we will make sure the show is bigger, better, and stronger than ever. And if the super chat obviously is not your thing, go ahead and hit the tips and donations link at the gsmcpodcast.net. Tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like. Give me some of your hot takes. Always love hearing hot takes. 1,010%. And of course, remember to always Superman punch that like a subscribe button to the show. Follow the show, follow the network. Here at the GSMC Sports Network, we do love a lot of peace, love, and positivity. But, if you have something honest, feedback is a gift. I can take criticism pretty damn well. So, by all means, let's do it. All right. So let's go ahead and start talking about our first segment. We have a WWE NXT happened last night. It was pretty great. All in all, I found myself, smiling and kind of laughing and cheering a lot of the times after watching it. So I thought that was, makes it pretty good. And just an FYI, my chat is kind of messing up. So if I don't see your chats, I deeply apologize. Hopefully that fixes itself sometime during the show. So yeah, let's dig on into it. So first and foremost, they tried to get the contract signing out of the way. Ethan Page and Trick Williams. Ethan Page was accused of stealing the championship from Trick Williams. Obviously wasn't the case. He was placed in a fatal four-way match at NXT Heatwave and lost the belt there, which was, kind of crazy, but all in all, I thought it was a well-booked match. You had Javon Evans in there, you had Shawn Spears. I think that's the match that actually injured Shawn Spears. I think that's why he's on the sidelines right now. But overall, these guys, want to tear each other apart. Doesn't really, no really surprise there. A fight broke out. And of course, who went through the table? It was none other than Whoop That Trick Williams. So I knew that, Ethan Page had to get some momentum going because, he just can't keep coming week in and week out and just being over trash talked and out wrestled and out promoted by Trick Williams, because then it just makes the match heading toward the CW, kind of not boring, because wrestling's never boring. I take that back. Sometimes, promos or matches and I'm just like, oh, okay, why are they doing this? But just kind of make it, competitive, make it good, like draw us in, be good storytellers. Next, we had Hammerstone taking on, Tony D'Angelo. I felt bad for Tony D'Angelo for the first time. I was like, dude, like this guy, you can sense the sincerity in his voice. I love that he feels like he has to represent his family at all times. Couldn't take out Hammerstone. That guy's a rock. And then, once when he was inside with Hammerstone, he kind of thought about, how his match with Oba Femi ultimately went. And he was disappointed with himself. So then he got himself counted out. And it was, it's kind of crazy, to see the Don quit in the middle of a match. Obviously, his ego had to be hurt. They talked to him backstage. He talked to Stax, Lorenzo, and Luca, and Adriano Rizzo, and they basically told him they believe in him. They believe in him. Later on in the show, he admitted that he was scared and he felt like he couldn't represent the honor of the D'Angelo family. He couldn't, after what Oba Femi said about Rizzo, he couldn't restore, like, kind of put him in check and be like, hey, you don't talk to our women like that. You know what I mean? And so I thought it was pretty good. It was a good promo. I like the way they're kind of leading it. Will this lead to Oba Femi losing his NXT North American Championship? I'm not too sure. I personally think that he not going to retire. Obviously, I think as soon as WWE Monday Night Raw goes to Netflix and they need a big time superstar, he's going to get called up. There's going to be a couple of people from NXT that might be called up heading into Netflix because WWE, they have to worry about viewers, but at the same time, you also have to worry about NXT on the CW as well, trying to lock down some awesome like promos, some awesome storylines, great superstars, that can go in the ring and tear it up at a moment's will. So, it would kind of suck to, lose Oba Femi, but if you do, you have that, WWE NXT North American class that, the division, open up so much possibilities. You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't, if you can have somebody like Ethan Page go against Oba Femi and be like, Oba Femi's just going to, tear him apart. If Ethan Page was like, okay, you need to go against, Wesley or, Zachary Wentz or something like that, it's going to be like, you know what? Now it seems like, it's up in the air. You don't know. The unpredictability of professional wrestling is probably the best thing about it. So, it's going to be interesting to find out what to do with that storyline. But I wouldn't mind seeing Tony D'Angelo, dethrone Oba Femi and Oba Femi obviously moving on to bigger and better things. Maybe he stays in NXT and goes after the NXT World Heavyweight Championship. That could be a possibility as well. All right, next we have the tag team match with Tatum Paxley, former friends. Tatum Paxley and Lyra Valkyria teaming up to go against Wendy Choo and Rosemary. And it was just clear that Tatum Paxley, she needed somebody to kind of help her fight against Wendy Choo and Rosemary. 1,010%. Other than that, she just, kept, getting her butt kicked, kept losing matches. And, she was just all by herself. She had a lot of promos where she was going absolutely nuts. Obviously, Lola Vice, tried comforting her, Kaylani Jordan. Nobody could quite fill that void, none other than, Lyra Valkyria. So they were able to pick up the dub tonight. I thought that was pretty cool. Next, we see Zachary Wentz, appear. Cuts a good promo. I thought it was a pretty good promo. All in all, I thought it was pretty great. He shared footage of Wesley attacking his fellow rascal in TNA, Trey Miguel. Obviously, this is still like a huge buildup for the street fight they're going to have at the first episode of NXT on the CW. And, he mentioned the No Mercy win as well. Maybe being a little fluky that he was distracted by Trey Miguel. Now it truly is going to be one-on-one, but I don't know. I think they're gonna have a great match. I think they're gonna have a great match, definitely. But yeah. Next we have Indiana Pacers, Tyrese Haliburton, was shown in the show. He went to general manager Ava and he was like, you know what, you need someone to get this contract signed. I'm your man. And then it's kind of crazy how everybody started chanting Pacers suck. And I was like, dude, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. Next, we have Ashanti the Adonis taking on Eddie Thorpe. First and foremost, what Adonis did, he gave the rose to that girl and she gave him a kiss on the cheek. That was so funny, man. That was so cool. Like, that was awesome. I was like, dude, this guy's a player, man. No, I thought it was ultimately, kind of reflects his personality. I thought it was, it was a well placed spot to kind of have that, the romantic guy, the guy that who come in Mr. Steal Your Girl, you know what I mean? But all in all, Adonis couldn't get it done. He looked distracted yet cocky. He was arrogant, but yet he did show signs that he's a decent wrestler and he has a future with WWE NXT. Obviously, Eddie Thorpe picking up the dub tonight. Next, we had CM Punk speak. CM Punk speak, and somebody interrupted him. I had, the last person I thought wasn't really the last person, Roxanne Perez. She brought up AJ Lee once again. We were talking about it on the last show. how he was going to make an announcement. I was kind of flirting with the idea that he was going to say, well, my wife, AJ Lee, is coming to WWE NXT, the train and stuff like that, because they have been rumored to be training together. She might make him come back to WWE. I don't think they left on terrible or bad terms. I don't think they did. Well, obviously, once when CM Punk left, there was a lot of animosity. Obviously, the same guys aren't there anymore, and in the company or the business. So it could be a possibility. It could be a possibility. So Roxanne Perez said I should have been a Drew McIntyre fan. Oh my God, that was crazy. That was a bombshell. I love that. It was pretty cool. She said she preferred his wife over her, basically saying that you were my hero, but now after what you've become, you're not as successful as I am. You should be looking up to me, kind of thing. So I thought that was actually pretty cool. Julia came out. There was a fight that almost broke out, but CM Punk was the deterrent. He was able to kind of break it up. Another promo was backstage when Kaylani Jordan was being interviewed, saying that she was going to host an open challenge on NXT next week. But she didn't have to do that. It didn't have to go that far. You saw Rent Sinclair come right away saying that, hey, Charlie Dempsey from the No Quarter Catch crew says I have to, prove something. And then Kaylani Jordan was like, what? And then bam, slap right into the face, slap the taste out of the NXT Women's North American Champion's mouth. It was crazy. It was pretty crazy, but it was funny as hell. It's funny as hell that since she ran away. She ran away. She was like, and then she did, dude. It was kind of funny. It was a well placed. It was kind of I thought it was great. I thought it was great, 1,010%. Next, we have the No Quarter Catch crew, the team of Miles Bourne and Tavion Heights. Losing. I ultimately thought, when you had Tavion Heights come back into the fray and, be a part of the No Quarter Catch crew, I thought they were going to do a little bit more with this storyline. Obviously, maybe it's building up to something, bigger and better. But, obviously, Javon Evans, Cedric Alexander picked up the win. Javon Evans challenged the Viper Randy Orton. That was actually answered on social media. So we have a match in St. Louis. In St. Louis, I think it is. Yeah, in St. Louis. It's going to be Javon Evans taking on the Apex Predator, the legend killer Randy Orton. So it should be pretty badass. Should be pretty badass. Then you saw a Rich Holland promo. Rich Holland once again vows to take out the rest of Chase U by challenging Riley Osborne next week. And Brooks Jensen defeats Lennox. JC Jane loses against Lola Vice. But overall, I'm not buying this Fatal Influence thing. Once again, maybe it's going to take a little bit more time. It reminds me like a bootleg version of Pure Fusion Collective. You have the leader, JC Jane, kind of looking like Sonya Deville out there. And, after Lola Vice picked up the dub, she was attacked by PFC after the match. Then Jada Parker had to come out, she took out everyone. She was a monster. Like obviously future NXT Women's Champion right there. Then he saw a promo with A-Town Down Under challenging for the NXT Tag Team titles in St. Louis. And why? Like, why is this once again dragging it out? Maybe this is the final straw that Austin Theory has, where he calls it quits. I definitely don't want to see Nathan Frazier and Axiom drop their titles to these two guys. That'd be awful. That'd be awful booking in my opinion. Next we saw Tyrese Haliburton finally get people to do things. He got them to sign the contract. He was wearing a pretty badass Shawn Michaels shirt. And, Ethan Page came out saying that he's the Boston Celtics. And then everybody was like, oh, and then Tyrese Haliburton was like, oh, I feel bad for you guys, rooting for the Orlando Magic all the time. And then you saw some of his teammates actually, go to NXT, which I thought was pretty badass. But I love Ethan Page. I love the way Ethan Page is kind of holding his own. He looks like a movie character. Like he looks like a movie character villain, dresses the part, kind of like a Victor Von Doom, like a Spider-Man's like that scientist dude, oh my God, I got Dr. Osborne, I think it was Dr. Osborne. Like, he comes in like he looks like he, can't harm a fly, comes out and just starts talking massive stuff. When he gets inside the ring, he definitely pushes you to your limits. And that's Ethan Page, you know what I mean? So definitely love Ethan Page on NXT. Lastly, we got CM Punk. His announcement was, of course, he's going to be the special guest referee for that title match. So, I don't want to say I told you so, but I kind of told you so. I'm just kidding. All right, guys. Well, hey, do not go anywhere. It's Wednesday. You know what that means. We're going to talk about AEW Dynamite as soon as we come back from this break. So, hey, do not go anywhere.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
All right, all right, all right. And welcome back to the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Eric Rodriguez, here every Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Pacific time, 11 p.m. Eastern time. Here to talk about everything in terms of professional wrestling on the GSMC Sports Network. We talk about all the action inside and outside of the ring, backstage curtain drama. We talk about superstar injury updates, inactive status, contract negotiations, signings, basically everything. From AEW to WWE to the GCW to the NWA to New Japan Professional Wrestling to the CMLL. If it makes major news wrestling headlines, we talk about it here on the GSMC Sports Network. So on the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm sorry about that. All right, so now we're going to jump on into our AEW Dynamite preview. But first, we're going to talk about that super chat, guys. You guys, I know right now my chat's acting a little funky. Hopefully, I'm just trying to refresh and trying to get it, get it going here. But obviously, if you have a, burning question or a hot take in terms of professional wrestling or just something you're dying to get off your chest, we at the GSMC Sports Network are all ears 1,010%. So, the show is all about keeping you guys, active, keeping you guys, to kind of, interact with the show. Definitely love it when you guys do send in those chats, 1,010%. It's all about keeping the conversation going, keeping the party going, making sure your voice is heard. And it's part of our, podcast and stuff like that. So don't be shy. Drop your thoughts inside that chat. And if you really want to make sure your comment or question gets noticed on air, why not use that super chat? Hit that $sign below that chat box, and your comment, question, or concern is guaranteed to be featured on the show. Plus, it's a great way for us here at the GSMC Sports Network to keep this podcast going. Obviously, bringing you guys even more awesome sports content that you guys love so dang much. So, but first and foremost, we are absolutely grateful for each and every one of you guys who joins us here daily on the GSMC Sports Network, on any one of our shows. Your support makes all of the difference. So go ahead and send in those super chats, those super stickers, because you guys are super awesome. And together, we will make sure this podcast is bigger, better, and stronger than ever. And once again, if the super chats aren't your thing, you can still hit up the gsmcpodcast.net, hit up the tips and donations link in the GSMC, at the link. And, tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like. Give me some of your hot takes in terms of professional wrestling. Obviously, Superman punch that, like and subscribe button to the show. Follow the show, follow the network here at the GSMC Sports Network. We do love a lot of peace, love, and positivity 1,010% of the time. But obviously, criticism, we take criticism well as well. We take criticism well as well. Sound kind of weird. Uh, but yeah, definitely 1,010%. Send in those super chats. Don't be shy. And yeah, we're gonna have fun. That's what watching a podcast is all about. You don't watch a podcast to be, like you're taking a test or anything like that. You watch a podcast to kind of release, listen about something that obviously piques your interest, and you just have fun. You smile when you're listening to it. So that's exactly what I want this platformer podcast to be. All right. So it's Wednesday. You know what that means. AEW Dynamite is live. And it's set to be an actually pretty good show. Obviously, we are a week away from what is it, Grand Slam? Not Grand Slam. I think it is. No, AEW Dynamite. Yeah, Grand Slam. So it should be pretty cool. In Mass Mutual Center in Springfield, Massachusetts. So it should be pretty good one. Should be pretty good, 1,010%. Grand Slam 2024 at the legendary Arthur Ashe Stadium, where we will see the Young Bucks defend the World Tag. Yep, exactly. That's where they're gonna be. All right, so let's go and talk about some Dynamite. First and foremost, we're going to talk about John Moxley. John Moxley, still seeming like he's, kind of has a chip on his shoulder. He wants to take Bryan Danielson's title. Obviously, I don't think that's going to happen. Well, I kind of gave you guys my hot take, my philosophy, what I thought was going to happen, the plan. Like what I would do if I planned, Daniel Bryan. If I was Tony Khan, or if I was a creative, officer for All Elite Wrestling, this whole time Bryan Danielson's been with the company, I believe since 2022. I think it is. I think I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. He's done nothing but great things. He's done nothing but great things for the company. Even, Tony Khan wanted to put the title on him. He wanted to put the title on him for so long, and he was like, you know what? My neck is messed up. I don't know how long I have for this neck. I have surgery. I don't, I can't really give you guys the best thing that a sports star could give a company is, you could talk about, their physical abilities, their mental abilities, but the best thing is your availability. Sometimes if you get injured, that's you can't really do much there. Like you can't really work on your game or anything like that, especially something like a neck injury. You know what I mean? Like he knew probably sat down with Bree. And he was like, it's not like a meniscus, or it's not like getting Tommy John surgery. It's your neck. One bad move and you can be paralyzed. You can be paralyzed 1,010%, and that sucks. You can't go out and do the thing that you love so damn much, and you gotta worry about your family. You know what I mean? Like dancing with your daughter on her wedding night. You know what I mean? Or hanging out with your son, or taking him out, or playing baseball, or something like that. Like that's something you can't do. Obviously, if you can't use the body parts from the neck down. So a little heartbreaking, a little grim, but I can understand why Danielson wouldn't want the title. He sees a whole bunch of these guys that are great wrestlers. AEW has a pretty good roster. He's like, you know what? You can find gold with these guys. Like, these guys could definitely withhold, airing three shows. Rampage is also AEW After Dark, so technically four, and they run PLEs like crazy. It's crazy. They got Dynamite, also Collision, Rampage, if I didn't say that before. And I don't know, it's kind of cool, kind of like a team player, like you know what I mean, kind of something that Bryan Danielson, his philosophy is in terms of kind of helping your guys kind of get over. Sometimes it's not all about you. So 4 years in the making, we had the learning trees, Chris Jericho taking on freshly squeezed orange Cassidy. And I can't wait to see it. I saw some of their snippets of their match. I think they had a Mimosa match or something like that. And I saw Chris Jericho fall into a bath of mimosas, and I thought that was pretty badass. I love the creativity, and I love the different matches from AEW. That kind of gives me like a WWF attitude kind of approach, like early WCW. It's funny. It's cool. You know what I mean? And when it happens, it's like you get this satisfaction. Like, you know what I mean? There's only so much sorry, excuse me. There's only so much satisfaction you can have with some guy climbing out of the steel cage, or some guy, pinning some guy 1, 2, 3, or, nowadays, even in like tables, ladders, and chairs match in WWE, sometimes they don't even use the tables, ladders, and chairs. They kind of, they use kind of like maybe 2 out of the 3. Man, it would be like Dudley Boy status, man. You got to use all that stuff, man. You got to use all that stuff. So, definitely, but then again, for it being too violent, it's a concern. It's a concern. Sure, you're kind of entertaining the older crowd on the demographic from 19 to 41 years old, but for kids, if they're not allowing kids to watch your product, they can't become a fan. You know what I mean? That's the reason why I feel like John Cena was so great for WWE during the Ruthless Aggression era. How he was able to get kids into it, and of course, then it transpired to like the new generation. And it was something that WWE has been able to I don't want to, say this because it sounds kind of like bad, not like use John Cena to get to the kids, but you kind of give them someone to look up to. Like, you know what I mean? Kind of like what Hulk Hogan was back in the 80s. Like, you know what I mean? Something like, Ric Flair was for, younger generation superstars that, they wanted to be like him. They wanted to be that kiss stealing, wheeling, dealing, limousine riding, son of a gun. And, that's got to protect the foundation. You know what I mean? But so far, I feel like they're doing pretty decent. But I do look into the crowd sometimes. Hardly see kids on Dynamite or Collision or Rampage. So definitely something that that Tony Khan should probably take into consideration. All right, next we have trios battle. We have the Elite, the AEW Continental Champion Kazuchika Okada, and the AEW World Tag Team Champions, the Young Bucks, take on the AEW International Champion Will Ospreay and the Don Callis families, Konosuke Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher. I don't know who should win this match. A lot of back and forth. Obviously, next week is that titles match. Just to kind of I was kind of hoping for another tag team to win. Like no one really in specific, but like the whole double champions thing in AEW seems like it's a little more common than not. And I don't think that's the way it should be. Like, you know what I mean? I kind of wanted to see, maybe Orange Cassidy team up with, Kyle O'Reilly. I thought that would be pretty awesome. Or Tomohiro Ishii teaming up with Kyle O'Reilly would be pretty cool. The conglomeration, taking on the Young Bucks and maybe potentially winning. I think that would have been pretty badass. But overall, we got Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher, the proto star, to go ahead and challenge for the AEW World Tag Team titles at Grand Slam next Wednesday night. So, I kind of feel a little animosity between, I kind of feel like, Don Callis still kind of has holds a grudge over Will Ospreay willingly leaving the Don Callis family. Obviously, Roosh doesn't really look like he likes Will Ospreay kind of being around the family. Konosuke Takeshita also as well, kind of giving Will Ospreay those bad vibes. But definitely think maybe something happens. I doubt they're gonna kick Kyle Fletcher out of the Don Callis family. Maybe they do. Maybe that night, like maybe the Young Bucks or or the Elite, and they kind of get under the skin of Don Callis and maybe kind of get him to to screw them over, and that could be a huge possibility. So then now you have this kind of this alliance between the Don Callis family and the Elite because something needs to change. Like the Elite, I talk about and I reiterate on this podcast over and over and over and over again that like it's kind of dying. The whole, I don't know. It seems like it's kind of dying. So, I think something big needs to happen. Something that's like a curveball or something. So that'd be pretty cool. Next, we have a tag team grudge match. The AEW Women's World Champion Mariah May teams up with the Professor Serena Deeb against Queen Aminata and Yuka Sakazaka. I think it's gonna be great. I think it's gonna be a great match. Queen Aminata, she's great in Ring of Honor. She was literally like so close to defeating Athena and dethroning her from being the longest Ring of Honor World Championship title holder, let alone the Ring of Honor Women's Champion. So I definitely think that's super cool. I believe in her. I think she has what it takes, but one on one, obviously, not really in her wheelhouse, so to speak, but I don't know, she'd be crazy. Next, we have Ricochet taking on the Beast Mortos. The Beast Mortos, he's doing great in AEW, and Ricochet after his debut. It's been great. It's crazy how AEW has featured Ricochet on prime time television, smack dab in the middle of all the attention, longer than WWE has in his whole entire career, and he's just been there for almost a month. And that just goes to show that Ricochet right now is in the right spot. He's definitely deserves to be in the limelight. Like Will Ospreay kind of said, he doesn't deserve to be having 3-minute matches on, on WWE's Twitter and stuff like that. So, I'm happy for Ricochet. I love that he's, killing it in AEW. Wouldn't have it any other way. But that's gonna be a hard hitting match. Honestly, that match has the potential to kind of be like a sleeper match of like match of the night. So, definitely, love AEW Dynamite. Can't wait to see what happens. I got it recorded right now. So as soon as I get done with this podcast, I get to watch it. So, take a couple notes and talk to you guys about it tomorrow. All right. So, talked about Dynamite. In our third segment, we're going to talk about, I hate it when it does that. We're going to talk about the New Day heading for a breakup. It's been so long. Wow. It's been amazing how long these guys have kind of stayed together, and WWE Creative kind of left them alone. You know what I mean? Which was actually pretty shocking. But we'll get into it, in a little bit. So, grab your favorite snack, grab your favorite ice cold beverage, and join me here in about like 20 seconds.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
All right. And we are back with the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Eric Rodriguez, here every Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Pacific time, 11 p.m. Eastern time on the GSMC Sports Network to talk about the best thing in the world, professional wrestling. I'm your favorite wrestling fan with all the cool deets. Find out all the action inside and outside of the ring. We also talk about backstage curtain drama, maybe some potential storylines coming around the corner. We talk about superstar, their inactive statuses, their injury updates, their contract negotiations, and the free agent signings. So if it makes major news in the wrestling world, we talk about it here on the show. Obviously, if you guys have something you want to share as well, obviously are open to it 1,010% because the show is absolutely 1,010%. Nothing without you. So yeah, thank you guys so much. All right, so we're gonna get into our next segment here. But before we do, I want to remind you guys to go ahead and use that super chat box right there. Whether if you have a burning question or a hot take, or if it's just something you've been dying to get off your mind, you know what I mean? Go ahead and hit up the super chat, send in your feelings, and I can't wait to get to it. You know, here at the GSMC Sports Network, we are all ears 100% of the time. And, it's all about keeping the conversation going, guys, keeping it lively, keeping this party going that we have every Monday through Friday night at 8 p.m. And, so don't be shy. Go ahead and drop your thoughts inside that chat. And if you really want to make sure your comment or question gets noticed on air, why not use that super chat? It's that $ below the chat box. And your message, your comment, concern, your opinion is guaranteed to be featured on the show. Plus, it's a great way to support our channel, guys. Keep even more awesome sports content, in this case, wrestling content, headed your way. The content that you guys love so much. So thank you, first and foremost. We are super, super grateful for each and every one of you guys who joins us here daily on the GSMC Sports Network. Your support makes all the difference. So let's keep this conversation going. Send in those super chats, those super stickers, because you guys are super awesome. And together we will make sure this podcast is bigger, better, and stronger than ever. And once again, if the super chat is not your thing, hit up the tips and donations link at the gsmcpodcast.net. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. Remember to Superman punch that like a subscribe button to the show. Follow the show. Follow the network here at the GSMC Sports Network. We do love a lot of peace, love, and positivity 1,010% of the time. But criticism, it works. It helps. You know what I mean? Feedback is a gift. So once again, don't be shy. Drop in those chats. It's going to be super duper awesome. Can't wait to hear what you guys have to say. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about our third segment today, which kind of makes me sad. I'm not pretty sure it makes a lot of people sad. You know what I mean? A lot of people grew up watching these guys. This was kind of like, nearing my middle tenure as a WWE fan, but the New Day on the verge of breaking up. Absolutely heartbreaking. I hate it. I just don't want, I'm all, I hate it, but I'm for it. You know what I mean? Like, if this what it takes for Xavier Woods to shine, Kofi Kingston's kind of had that Kofi Mania run. Big E's also a champion. Xavier's kind of the only guy who hasn't really held singles gold. You know what I mean? And it'd be interesting again. He's right there at the. He does get injured quite often. You know what I mean? And that's another thing. Like, what if they totally break these guys up, then the other guy just gets injured, and then the storyline is just go out the window. then they're just doing senseless promos, and then they want us to, kind of forget about what happens and stuff like that. Like, and then then the guy comes back, and then Big E comes back, and then the New Day forms again, and it's like, why did we do this in the first place? And it's like, I don't know, I thought it'd be kind of cool to have Xavier Woods win. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like, is Murphy? I'm just kidding. No, like, imagine, like, that'd be pretty funny. But I don't know. I just don't want this to be a mistake. And like I said, I'm all for, different angles and perspectives, just so, people could get, the best out of their character and get the best out of, the promotion that they work for. But like, I just don't want this to backfire. I don't want this to backfire. I don't want this to be another case when a tag team splits up and it was just the worst, decision that somebody could possibly make. Kind of like when they tried to break up the Dudley Boys and stuff like that. Like, it was just like, oh, why? Like, you know what I mean? Like, some people do fit better as a tag team. Like when you had Enzo and Big Cass for no reason break up, when they're actually pretty marketable. They were selling merchandises, and it was like, you soft, SAWFT, soft. I love Enzo Amore. I kind of miss him. Kind of miss him 1,010%. So yeah, the New Day, after the tag team title match loss on Raw, Xavier Woods was absolutely irate. He was frustrated because the New Day, which are usually very successful in their tag matches, they lost. They lost, and it was because of outside interference. It's exactly what Xavier Woods warned, the Damian Priest and Ray Ripley about. He was like, "Look, don't get into our business because I know what happens." And then Kofi Kingston, mentioned the fact that Big E is gone. The reason why they're not as untouchable as tag team champions anymore is because you don't have the trio. Once when you're missing on the tripod, if you're missing one leg, it doesn't work. But it does work. It does work. But Kofi Kingston kind of had a good point when he was talking to Xavier Woods. He was said, to be honest, what do you think would have happened anyway? You know what I mean? Like, the Judgment Day would have came in, they would have got disqualified, and we would have lost either way, dude. Like, so, although they did get the 1, 2, 3, and now they cannot challenge again. Maybe they could have found themselves in like a rematch. But Xavier Woods was just, oh my God, he was pissed. He was pissed. And he's upset that he's been kept in the dark for a lot of Kofi Kingston's plans and actions and stuff like that. And, Woods ultimately felt like when Kingston talked about Big E, saying that, okay, so now all of a sudden I'm not good enough, and kind of taking it a little personally, kind of to the heart. And I don't know, but the New Day definitely revolutionized what it means to be a stable, in WWE. They were so loyal, energetic, charismatic, fun to watch, but most importantly, they were successful. They had a lot of successes, as a tag team. And as soon as Big E did suffer his cervical fracture in his spine in March of 2022. They have the most, title reigns, tag team title reigns in SmackDown tag team champion history. Longest reign in Raw tag team champion history is 483. Also, 12 separate reigns right there. 7 SmackDown, 4 Raw, and 1 NXT. Only the Dudley Boys have more with 18. And, they've had some great feuds. They had some great feuds with the Usos, the OC, Chris Jericho, and Kevin Owens, and of course, The Bar, the team of Sheamus and Cesaro. And I don't know, these guys are literally like lightning in a bottle. Like, you know what I mean? The moment they make storylines. They make storylines. I mean, they can go out there and, you can have, Rock being completely dead. Maybe the same old boring matches happen, and then these guys cut a funny promo. They make fun of some of these guys have, oh my God, there's so many things when they've done stuff and I'm like laughing my ass off. Like, it's funny. When they were doing the whole pancake thing, and it was just, oh my God. And freaking, what is it? It was, I think he was talking with Adam Pearce. Xavier Woods was, and like it was Vinci and Ludwig Kaiser, and he was like, "Man, why we already fought these guys?" Like, it was just like like the way he had it, like it was just funny. It was, oh my God, these guys are like I said, lightning in a bottle, and I'm gonna be so heartbroken when it's when it's no more. But I guess it is what it is. I don't see right now how the New Day would kind of fit in this picture of this new generation of Monday Night Raw. I think when they take Monday Night Raw to Netflix, I think they're gonna have it darker. they're gonna have more of a darker kind of like WWE. You know what I mean? It's like comparing the Captain America movie to like Black Adam. For DC Comics compared to like Disney's Marvel movies. You know what I mean? I feel like that could definitely draw a new audience in. It can make them seem a little bit more exclusive, a little like edgy and badass. But then again, they shouldn't lose their identity. Like I said, it's don't fix it if it ain't broken. Right now, WWE is an absolute juggernaut of a conglomeration and stuff like that. So there's no doubt in my mind, whatever happens, I doubt they're gonna go like bankrupt and like a million fans are gonna be like, oh, F this, I don't want to watch SmackDown or I don't want to watch Raw anymore. There's too much bad stuff. I don't think that'll happen at all. So I think right now WWE fans are obviously one of the most loyal fans in terms of professional sports in the entertainment industry. So I feel like you can't really, but I just, like I said, I don't want WWE to shoot themselves in the foot, with these guys leaving each other. You know what I mean? And especially if I think there was an interview with Big E, and he was saying how stem cell research kind of, you know, it helped Brian Danielson, it helped Kyle O'Reilly, uh, you know, with their necks and stuff like that, and they were able to come back and wrestle. So Big E is like he could be like right there. Like he could be right there and returning in maybe like 6, 8 months, 6, 8 months, maybe a year. Like maybe he comes back at the Royal Rumble. That'd be pretty cool. But or Xavier Woods wins the Royal Rumble, which I doubt. But see, then once again, I don't know. I really honestly don't know. Like I love these guys. I think they're better together. They're the only tag team that kind of defended under that free bird, the free bird rule, where they were tag team champs as three guys, but they ultimately choose two guys to fight. Sometimes it was Big E and Xavier, Xavier, Kofi and Big E, and I thought that was actually actually kind of cool. So I definitely love that. Um, you know, so. I don't know. Do they wait for Big E to come back? I don't think they do. There's some potential storylines that kind of linger over there, and I've kind of thought about a couple of them, and all of them honestly don't sound better or would get more attention from the WWE universe. If these guys break up, you know what I mean? Of course, kind of like where you have Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, where they did had a massive breakup and it seemed genius, and they got entertainment and they were beating the holy hell out of each other, and then it died. And then Johnny Gargano got sat back down to NXT. And then Tommaso Ciampa failed as a singles wrestler and went down to NXT. And then they both failed in NXT as singles wrestlers and then thought it'd be better to come back together. And then they made it back to WWE SmackDown to win the WWE Tag Team Championships. And then they lost to the Bloodline. It's just, I don't know. It's a little offsetting. I got to be honest. But maybe if Xavier Woods in his singles career, he could make a run. Definitely 1,010%. He has all the talent in the world to do that. Kofi Kingston, it's late in his career, but I think he can be kind of like that Cinderella story kind of older guy, going after the United States Championship or going after the WWE Intercontinental Championship. Something that I think they're going to do is you just have Xavier Woods beat the hell out of Kofi Kingston. Maybe there's blood involved, maybe there's not. And then then you have Xavier Woods walking out on his former New Day brother, and you just have Kofi Kingston's his eyes like bawling and he's crying. And then then that's fun for maybe about 2 or 3 PLEs. And then once when a Monday Night Raw goes to Netflix, and then these guys, if you want this breakup to actually stick, kind of like I sound like I'm talking to two people who are breaking up. It's like, if you want this breakup to stick, you guys have to move away from each other. No connection, no contact, and you guys will find successful, separate lives and maybe find somebody else. You know what I mean? That could possibly be it. As soon as WWE Raw moves to Netflix, you keep Kofi or you keep Xavier Woods. And then vice versa. In SmackDown, you get a former New Day member as well. And then people, that's it. If you forget about the New Day, you don't have that lingering, other if they're on the same show all the time and they're constantly crossing paths and they're beating the hell out of each other, and it's just like, it comes to the point where it's like, all right, let's just have these guys not do this. And then the WWE universe is stuck watching this and they're like, don't these guys hate each other? They were former tag team partners, and now now WWE wants us to believe that these guys were never, one of the most successful tag team champions inside of, WWE history. And it's like something you can't ignore. Like, you know what I mean? So This has to be done very delicately. Like I said, it could happen. It could happen, but if it falls flat on its face, WWE shoots themselves in the foot, so to speak. I'm gonna be the one, and it's gonna burn me. It's gonna hate me to be like, oh, I told you so. Sometimes, you're happy that you're right, yeah, but then sometimes you're not really happy that you were right after all along. So, definitely, yeah. All right, guys, we're going to talk about our fourth segment. We're going to talk about WWE approaching contract negotiations under the Paul Levesque era a bit differently, which I think is, it's a lot better. Like I said, I feel like they take care of their workers a little bit more. So, yeah, we're going to talk about that when we come back. So, hey, do not go anywhere.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
All right, all right, all right. Welcome back to the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Eric Rodriguez, here every Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Pacific time, 11 p.m. Eastern time, here to talk about professional wrestling on the GSMC Sports Network. Thank you for tuning in. I love you guys 1,010%. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about our next segment. Obviously, kind of reiterating what we talked about. We talked about our WWE NXT review. We talked about our AEW Dynamite preview, and we also talked about the New Day, breaking up, some potential storylines, maybe some failures. What WWE has to do to kind of make this breakup make sense. So make sure you check out those videos on the YouTube page on the GSMC Sports Network as well as the podcasting network. So yeah, 1,010%. Let's go ahead and move on. We have our segment 4. We're talking about under the Triple H Paul Levesque era. Obviously, contract negotiations are going to be done differently. You know what I mean? Which is the best thing to do. You know what I mean? Letting contracts roll out. You know what I mean? I have a friend who has a wife that's in HR, who's in higher ups, and she says they're going to fire somebody. They kind of decide maybe 6 months to a year in advance. So you let the kind of contract kind of roll out. You don't really kind of appeal to them a little bit. Kind of like, well, not really what's happening with Kevin Owens, because I think WWE did give him an offer. Then he went to, try to see what AEW would offer him. Obviously, AEW didn't want to match what WWE was going to give him. So right now, he kind of has to decide in itself, like, is it worth it? Is it worth it to, stay traveling with these guys that I love and respect so damn much? His best friend, Sami Zayn, Cody Rhodes, and he's doing this, with Randy Orton right now. His contract is up at the beginning of the year, so obviously there's still some negotiations you have about maybe like 4 months, you know what I mean? Which is ideal. Like, well, not 4 months. It's September. Yeah, oh, damn, 3 months. So you kind of got to get your stuff together, but sooner rather than later. And that's kind of been the philosophy in terms of approaching contract negotiations under the Triple H Paul Levesque era for WWE. The company has recently ramped up their efforts to secure professional wrestlers before their contracts expire. Unlike they used to do. They used to let it run out. And then, I feel like they'd kind of give them a chance to kind of test the market. And once again, this is something that WWE obviously has had an advantage of ever since, WCW went down, ECW went down in, 2000 and, in 2001, when you were essentially the only wrestling, choice. So it was like, all right, do I take a pay cut or do I disappear off the scene forever? Like, you know what I mean? Or do I go to Ring of Honor or TNA and get paid like, tens of thousands of dollars, where you can be in WWE and make hundreds of thousands of dollars? Like, you know what I mean? Definitely playing in that angle is a little better. Of course, WWE criticizing how Tony Khan approaches his contract negotiations, obviously with that Swerve Strickland contract of Will Ospreay, Mercedes Moné and Kazuchika Okada. Obviously, they got paid big bucks But overall, I feel like WWE, they're kind of doing this to kind of protect their own asses. Like they could go out to bigger and better things. Like look at what happened with AEW as soon as Ricochet joined in. Like it only takes a couple more pieces. It only takes a couple of more pieces for, something just for people to feel like, of course, there's always in the money aspects in terms of finding a job, in terms of picking a job. If you're testing two companies that you get interviews for and you get accepted by both of them, you're like, kind of got to weigh the pros and cons a little bit. Sometimes people do sacrifice the money aspect just for comfortability. You work with a bunch of great people, like, no one's really a jerk or an a-hole or anything like that. But on the other hand, you be getting paid more money, and you work with people who are basically waiting there behind your back, breathing down your neck with a pencil, ready to stab you in the back, and try to take your job. You know what I mean? It all depends exactly, what, kind of like what you want. Like, you know what I mean? In this case for Kevin Owens, I think it would be smart for him to sign back with WWE because I feel like WWE's not finished with him yet. He had such a promising start making out of NXT. He was kind of a joke of a Universal Champion, which, kind of tarnished his name. Like he brought it up on SmackDown about 2 weeks ago to Cody Rhodes. And, obviously he doesn't forget. And the WWE Universe doesn't, forget as well. I want to see Kevin Owens become a champion. It seems right now a little dire for him to either beat Cody Rhodes or for him to, beat Gunther. But, I don't know, just like in terms of creativeness, it could be a possibility, because I think Kevin Owens is liked by the WWE universe. He cuts amazing promos. He's a funny guy. He's a really funny guy. Like it's crazy how funny he is. So 1,010%. I love the way that WWE is doing this. I feel like it makes for a better stability within the company, within the locker room. Everyone's not, like I said, everyone's not ready to stab someone in the back because they're getting paid more money than the other person is. And it's consistent for storytelling. And this is something like, just imagine you're watching a movie, and I kind of got this, what's a good example? Terrence Howard. Terrence Howard in the first Iron Man, he was great. He was super great. I loved him. And then you find out there was some money obligations, and then they had to find a new roadie. They had Don Cheadle, which Don Cheadle, he was great as well. But just that goofiness, you know what I mean? Like, just that, like, all right, it's kind of like what WWE did once when Kevin Nash and Scott Hall left for WCW, and then they just ultimately just try to replace them with like lookalikes, and you're just like, it's not really funny. So, for the storyline to work, you need the same actors. You need the same superstars because they're great. They're great at what they do. They get the fans to buy your product. They get to buy the damn tickets, put the butts in the seats, and buy merchandise and buy titles that only tonight. 45% off championship belts. Man, those things are expensive, dog. Those things gotta be freaking 95% off, and maybe I might get it at like $200. Like it's crazy. It's crazy how expensive those things are. So I kind of like it how they're not having no more random storylines, because I bet there's a lot of there's been a lot of historic circumstances in WWE where you let somebody test the market. Maybe they got a little disgruntled and they're like, you know what? I don't want to come back to WWE. I'm going to test Ring of Honor, the independent scene, TNA, CMLL, or wherever. You know what I mean? And then WWE could have had the WWE universe eating out of this guy's palms, hands. Of course, they would always sign the big stars, but it was the middle stars, the rising stars that they were kind of like, you know what? So what? Like, you know what I mean? What are they going to do? What are they going to watch? Are you going to go watch total nonstop action wrestling? What are you going to do? Watch, Ring of Honor. That was my Vince McMahon impersonation. Hope you guys liked it. Uh, but no, WWE using that to their advantage 1,010%, that they were the only wrestling promotion. Obviously, now they are not. So this could possibly be a huge reason why they are approaching this contract negotiation with such more of a sensitive approach, empathetic. I think it's great. Definitely love it 1,010%. No more random storylines. The company locked down a new deal with Sheamus recently, as reported by PW Insider. WWE has approached the WWE Women's World Heavyweight Champion Liv Morgan, the WWE Champion Nia Jax, and Rhea Ripley. You can't lose those girls. Right now, they are literally the lifeblood of Nia Jax on SmackDown. Liv Morgan, she kind of is, kind of not on Raw. I don't know why. I sound like such a hater, and I apologize. Rhea Ripley, the future of Monday Night Raw. She's going to have that show. That's her show. And like I said, once when WWE Raw kind of goes some more edgier content on Netflix, she's gonna push the envelope a little bit. With her entrances, her style of wrestling. She's gonna get like it's gonna be great. I feel like it's gonna be great for her. So definitely love that. WWE noted, and I quote, looking to get new deals done ahead of time, and obviously kind of, talking about how, the success rate that they kind of have right now. And, they've recently locked down contract with Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest, Finn Balor, Chad Gable, and of course, the one recently, Bombshell right here, Randy Orton. So 1,010%. I think WWE is approaching this the best way possible. Something that these probably should have done, but obviously egos are in the room when you see Vincent Kennedy McMahon. I'm just kidding, but anyways, moving on. So now let's go ahead and move on to our fifth and final segment. Something we do every Wednesday. I give you guys my Wednesdays weekly wrestling news updates. So we're gonna talk about that. Grab your favorite snack, grab your favorite ice cold beverage, and join me here in about 25 seconds. All right, all right, all right. Welcome back to the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Eric Rodriguez, here every Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Pacific time, 11 p.m. Eastern time. We're here to talk about everything in terms of professional wrestling on the GSMC Sports Network. So make sure you tune into the show, tune into your favorite wrestling fan, and we can have some fun. All right, just kind of reflect on what we talked about right quick. We had our WWE NXT review. We had our AEW Dynamite preview. We also talked about our third segment about the New Day breaking up, heading toward a breakup, maybe some future storylines, maybe something that makes sense, something that WWE shouldn't do in terms of creative by booking, either Xavier Woods or Kofi Kingston. We talked about that. So make sure you check those videos out on YouTube. And we also recently talked about, WWE approaching contract negotiations differently, which is, the right thing to do. Definitely love it. Definitely respect that. They kind of respect the athletes and they're a little more empathetic now. So I think that's super cool. Now our fifth and final segment, something we do on every Wednesday. Give you guys my weekly Wednesday of wrestling news. Yeah, we're gonna get into it. We're gonna talk about it. So yeah, let's go and talk about it, man. All right. So first and foremost, we got Samantha Irvin blacked out all of her social media accounts, the display and cover pages on Instagram and Twitter/X with dark blank images. I wouldn't know why somebody would do this unless like maybe you're getting like, some stalkers or something like that. Maybe you're getting some sketchy people because it's like, all right, so just, block them, block them, block them. But if you're constantly blocking people after inappropriate comments, it kind of gets a little troublesome. But then like, all right, then I'll just make an account. This girl just recently reached 1 million followers on her account. Like, you think she wants to go ahead and just be like, oh, I'm just going to start over. Like, you know what I mean? Like, of course, she probably could. She can get those people back. She can get those people back 1,010% right off the bat. But I don't know. That's the only reason why I feel like it would kind of compel a person to ultimately do that. Usually when NFL players are upset with their contracts, they don't have anything of their teams on it. I doubt that's what she's doing with WWE. Trying to get another contract or trying to get or maybe she does follow the Ricochet to AEW, which I feel would be disastrous. That'd be terrible for WWE to lose Samantha Irvin. But I have recently kind of noticed, and I'm not sure if it's because Michael Cole isn't on Raw anymore. Like they kind of put less emphasis on Samantha Irvin announcing anymore, I guess. Like they don't really have the camera center angle like on her as much as they used to. So maybe there might be a little like, I don't know, maybe a little discrepancy there between the I doubt there's any treatment issues or, once again I'm not, Samantha Irvin, so maybe I'm talking out of my arse here, but anyways, like just and doing this kind of stuff I can imagine like something, something bad, like something bad, like you know what I mean. You do it for a reason. You do it for a reason. WWE NXT last night saw a viewership increase, and it was a great episode. Over 600,777. Damn it. 677,000 from that key demographic of 18 to 49 age range. Obviously, you had the Indiana Pacers player Tyrese Haliburton. You also had CM Punk. A lot of funny segments, a lot of intense moments and stuff like that. So there's honestly no surprise to me that this show did very, very well. I remember the moment I turned it off, I was like, damn, that was actually a pretty good episode of NXT. And I'm not saying that they don't produce good content or anything like that, but I don't know. It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. Gotta give respect. Gotta give respect. All right, next we have The Rock meets up with the fan who turned his life around after embracing The Rock's health style and his fitness lifestyle as well. And he had this to say, and I quote, meeting people and hearing about the journeys of weight loss, mental health struggles, fitness, dealing with loss, anxiety, depression, hard times, etc. Moments like this is the best part of fame. That is awesome. Like that, not a lot of people probably think like that. Not a lot of stars embrace fans or, people who don't make as much money as you like that. You know what I mean? He's still down to earth. The Rock, all in all, he knows the best thing about society is us ultimately staying together. Like, you know what I mean? Some people do rely on like maybe like politicians more, be like, oh, they're gonna fix everything, they're gonna fix everything. And at the same time, the only thing that's gonna change the world is how we treat each other. And The Rock is definitely, he's like he's great. He's amazing. He's the most electrifying man in sports entertainment. I think The Rock should be president. Hells yeah, it kind of sucked that his Rock, Young Rock, I think it was. That wasn't Little Rock. No, Little Rock was no, never mind. I think it was Young Rock. Young Rock, I kind of liked that show. I thought it was pretty cool. But obviously that's not on the on the tube anymore. So gotta love The Rock for kind of doing something like this, and it's good for the fan. Sometimes when you go through stuff like that, you kind of have to change everything. Change everything, or you're gonna fall back into the same bad habits that you were before. So kind of crazy. Congratulations, that's dope. Next, we have a Tony Khan special. Aired. Well, it aired on FS1 ahead of AEW's Dynamite tonight. Could that be a foreshadowing of them maybe having a deal with Fox? It could. Maybe it is. Maybe it doesn't. They recently trademarked AEW Shockwave, and I kind of mentioned that maybe they could, they can be in a spot, or maybe perhaps they could, have it after football. Because after you have those, the afternoon slate of football end, you kind of want people to, well, they have the animation domination kind of thing with like The Simpsons, Bob's Burgers, and, Family Guy. But I don't know. It's crazy. It is crazy. 1,010% that this deal could possibly go through. So definitely respect Tony Khan as a businessman, and I can't wait to watch tonight's Dynamite. All right. So next we have Sexy Red, the hip hop sensation, is returning to NXT. I know recently she kind of had a little, a little run in with, bad PR, but they were able to kind of see past it in the WWE, which I was surprised. I was honestly a little surprised that WWE was, well, it's not like it's like, oh, I'm so cool with it. I'm so cool with it. You know what I mean? But it was like, what, like she's young, young athletes, young performers, they do stupid stuff, like sometimes they post weird things on social media that could, they could be it as well. Like, or, but all in all, I kind of think it's better for NXT. It's good, especially on the first episode on the CW. It's going to get audience members. Like I said, that key demographic of 18 to 49 years old is obviously what it's all about, and something that WWE should definitely take advantage of, why they still kind of have a superstar like Sexy Red to kind of help, kind of get a different perspective, kind of draw in audience members that are new. So, anything anything helps. You know what I mean? Kind of beneficial. She's getting exposure, then she's getting people to watch WWE. So it's like a beneficial relationship, and I think I think it's pretty kick-ass. I think it's kind of cool. All right, next, Paul White brings attention about how Tony Khan paid him a crap ton of money, and he hasn't done a damn thing. Basically, he said he hasn't. Well, he used a different word that I can't say on the podcast. He said, he hasn't done anything. And Paul White wants to return to the ring. He's dying to return to the ring. So it's kind of cool. Him at an age like that, be like, hey man, I can still run with the boys. I can still, I can still hang with the rest. I, definitely love and respect that out of Paul White. And we're watching from the Big Show. Like, well, the Big Show. Like it's cool. Like he was super badass. Definitely love that. Definitely love myself some Big Show, man. All right, next we have Joe Hendry files, several trademarks, and this is not really a surprise. This guy's going to be huge in TNA. He was getting noticed in TNA. So, I can't really be like, oh, the reason why he's at his full best is because he went to WWE NXT. I can't say that. I can't say that at all. Actually, I think it's quite the opposite. WWE NXT needed Joe Hendry, and then TNA needed NXT, and now TNA's doing great in their pay-per-view sellouts and their ticket sales. Also, they're doing great with their gates and their pay-per-view, and it's something that it's great. It's something that both of these promotions definitely needed at the time. You had a star-studded NXT. You had a TNA that was drawing about maybe like a crowd of like, I want to say like 5,000, 7,000 people. Like I said, I watched TNA a little bit when I first started this podcast. Actually, I watched a little bit of the pay-per-views that they had on YouTube, and I was like, "Oh man, like it's not really ideal in terms of wrestling, but TNA's turning around. They're a new product. They're getting bigger. They're getting better. So gotta love and respect that. So gotta love Joe Hendry. I would file trademarks as well. You know what I mean? Be like, this guy's gonna be big. All right, next we have Kenny Omega is currently training to come back to AEW. Great sign, after his medical issue, I thought he was never going to wrestle again. Thank God I was wrong. And, definitely love and respect a guy like Kenny Omega, one of the best wrestlers to ever do it. Him, Kazuchika Okada, Will Ospreay, and a couple other New Japan professional wrestlers as well. They have a lot of matches on Dave Meltzer's, on the most stars list. Out of 5 stars, you get a 9.5, which is kind of crazy. Be like, how does that work out? But it is what it is, and it works. And I feel like Kenny Omega, in AEW, just it just works. It just works. It makes sense, and it makes money. All right, then we have the WWE legend Rikishi requests prayers for his son Jimmy Uso, but it's been reported that Jimmy Uso is okay. So whatever, they're not going to dig into it too much because we'll probably receive more information, or we've already kind of gotten an update over. I haven't checked my phone during the show, so maybe we could have got something more of a good, health update for his son Jimmy. Hopefully he makes it back to WWE sooner rather than later. Definitely miss seeing him on the tube. And lastly, we have AEW Rampage could be canceled. It could be. Could be. It's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed, although they do have, they have After Dark. They have Dynamite. They have Collision. And, sometimes, sometimes it's, you can cut a loss for a show. You can cut a loss for a show if it means that you're going to have a show to replace it, like a Shockwave or something like that. Maybe that could be a huge reason why they're doing it. Like I said, there was a documentary on, Tony Khan that was aired today before AEW Dynamite. So maybe that has like a foreshadowing for a show happening on Fox. Although it's, it could happen, it could not happen. You know what I mean? Just got to stay patient. I think it'd do wonders for AEW. I think that would be great. Kind of like would be kind of like not like a huge, like, in your face to WWE. But be like, I thought Fox was very beneficial for WWE. But on the USA Network, I think they did really well as well. So you can't really compare apples to oranges here. All right, so guys, thank you so much for tuning into my show. Hope you guys liked it. We got my boy Emran's GSMC Soccer Podcast happening in 21 minutes. So if you're a soccer fan or if you're trying to get into soccer, make sure you tune into that. Yeah, make sure you follow us on Twitter/X, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook for more content and updates. Also, remember to Superman punch that like a subscribe button to the show. And if I haven't made you a wrestling fan quite just yet, we have a bunch of other shows. We have Nelson with the GSMC Basketball Podcast. We have Jeremy with Sports by GSMC, TJ with the GSMC Sports Podcast. We have two football podcasts, Manny with the Chip Shot Football Podcast, the GSMC Football Podcast hosted by Kenneth. So NFL's, it's in the mix. And what's in the mix is fantasy sports as well. We got my boy Chris Shepard with the GSMC Fantasy Sports Podcast as well. So make sure you tune into all those. They're all amazing podcasts. Or if you're a college football fan, Saturdays be popping sometimes, man. Them hits be echoing through all the stadiums. So make sure you tune into Tommy's podcast, the GSMC College Football Podcast. And we're definitely, the load of podcasters who have the same passion that you guys have for professional sports. So once again, thank you guys so much for tuning into my show. Stay beautiful, but most importantly, love you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna go to